Amen. And we do not honor those who died, whether on 9/11 in New York or on 9/11 in Benghazi or on the battlefield or in the streets in Iraq or Afghanistan. We do not honor them by sending more young people to die in other countries' civil wars. That's not honor. That's not honor. That's not paying tribute. That's madness. It's truly madness. I don't care if it's George Bush or Barack Obama sending them or keeping them. Our soldiers don't need to be the police force in civil wars. That's what we are in Afghanistan. That's what we are in Iraq. That's what we are about to be in Syria. Because I don't care if it's Mogadishu. I don't care if it's Kabul. I don't care if it is Baghdad. You inject yourself into these vicious, violent civil wars, and you have your soldiers acting as a peacekeeping police force, and they will come home in body bags. I don't care how badass they are. Unless you just allow them to fire indiscriminately, which we don't, nor should we. This is not a war. We're not fighting wars. We're using our soldiers as police officers for which they are not trained and for which there is no glory. They didn't sign up for it. We shouldn't send them for that. And I'm not just talking about Syria. There is a collective national shame that hangs over Iraq and Afghanistan in my mind. And I don't care who it upsets that I say it. And it is time that we fix it. We are by nature a warmongering people. We have solved problems with war. We have knocked nations to their knees who get out of line. I am comfortable with that. But if you're going to fight a war, you fight it to win. And we did this in Korea. We did this in Vietnam. Now we're doing this in Iraq and Afghanistan and about to do it in Syria. You get these saber-rattling, fat, pasty, white, pudgy Karl Rove types and Bill Crystals who run around talking big while they're wearing their wife's panties when she's gone, wanting to invade countries with other people's children. No, I won't stand for this. I won't stand idly by. Don't tell me we're honoring our troops or dishonoring them by not sending them in. This is nonsense, and I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. It makes me sick to my stomach. Go meet 5 warriors who came home from Iraq and Afghanistan. Sit down and talk to them for a solid hour and see if you don't change your opinion. I bet you will. I will bet you will change your opinion on a number of these things. Yes, indeed. Harry Reid, his comments on the fact that there are those who don't want, like me, who don't want to send our troops to Syria.
14 blocks from here, down Constitution Avenue, is a Holocaust museum. You walk in there and you'll see a quote. It's on the wall. It's from Dante's famous Inferno. Here's what it says, and I quote, "The hottest places in hell are reserved for those who in times of great moral crisis maintain their neutrality." I repeat, the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who in times of great moral crisis maintain their neutrality. I've thought about those words very often, and very often lately, as I've considered whether America should take action to prevent further atrocities in Syria.
So, if you don't agree with attacking Syria, you will one day be the bad guy in a Holocaust museum? Wow. Well, in the meantime, let's create a Benghazi museum. And we'll put the looming specter of Barack Obama's haunting ears on the outside of the building. It'll be awesome architecture. Like turning the Sydney, in Melbourne, the Opera Center, taking the lotus leaves and fashioning an ear on both sides, sort of Dr. Spock style. And that'll be the Museum of Horror. The Horrors of Hussein. That's what we'll call it. Think about how our lives have changed since 19 Muslims took for granted our niceness, our decency. We didn't have systems in place to stop them. We knew that Muslims were trying to kill us around the world. Hell, they'd done it at the World Trade Center. But we trusted, because that's what we do. We trust. We allow them to come here and live. We give them full citizenship. Can we get that in the Middle East? We treat them like our own. Hell, we've created an entire cottage industry around hearing them complain and silencing everyone but them. There's never enough, though. You cannot please these people. They can't figure out running water, but they're furious at us for our freedoms. They will abuse those freedoms while they partake of them. Where did the terrorists go the night before? They punished America for our sinful ways by going to strip clubs the night before. Repressed, sick savages. Repressed is the word. Seriously, deeply, darkly repressed. Human beings have sexual urges. I know that makes some of you uncomfortable. Human beings have natural sexual urges. It is in our DNA. You cannot deny it. It is the perpetuation of the species. Every animal has it. It is how you continue. If human beings did not have sexual urges, we would not reproduce. If we did not reproduce, the species would die. That is just as true for dogs as it is for us. And yet, there are those who will use religion, fear, or any other sick demon with which they deal to try to convince other people that sexual urges are evil, that they're horrible. They will repress them. And by repress, I do not mean make them go away. I mean hide them and thereby blow them up. It is unhealthy, it is unnatural, and it leads to dramatic acts of rape and murder and things like we saw in Ohio. It's not healthy. It's not moral. It is not godly. It is not biblical. It is not in any way positive for a society. Savages like that and the repressed sexual and other desires they have, it eventually becomes a tinderbox and it blows up. You can study the lives of the serial killers, the serial rapists, and you will find in every one of their cases mommy issues with potty training. You will find issues of sexual repression in their lives. Mom comes in and they're diddling themselves and she goes crazy and whips them or whips their wanger or whatever else. I know these things make some of you wiggle and squirm. Why can't we just be honest about it? Why can't we be a healthy society that can have healthy sexual attitudes? Because you can't have healthy sexual attitudes because you have a bunch of people on the fringe of every religion, although I'll cut the Jews loose on this because they don't seem to have this problem, but every other one does, Christianity included, who believes that sex itself is some sort of an evil act, unless, of course, done on Saturday evening from 8:07 to 8:08 p.m. missionary style with the lights out and no one within a mile. And that everybody else is engaged in an act against the glory of God. And what you end up with is a bunch of repressed rapists and murderers. Relax a little.